Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Welcome once again in today's conversation, and let us take a glance on what we studied and what we were discussing in our previous conversation. And there we stumbled across two types of good thoughts. One was we should hold good desires, and the second one was even though we live a short life, doesn't matter how much we live. The one thing that matters is how we live our lives. So our lives should always be filled with divinity. I mean, our lives should always be filled with the purpose that we are built for, that our lives have been constructed for. So we get this knowledge from the life of Jatayu, who is relinquishing his life. His life is in front of him. But on the other hand, he has his duties. He has his responsibilities as a creature to save, to help a helpless person. And he never cares that what would happen to him if he fights a powerful person like the king of demons, Ravana. He is never flinching away from fighting with this demon, I mean the king of the demon, and he fights with him, and he knows that he cannot defeat him. He is so much powerful, but though he revolts, he revolts against him, that he cannot do that. Whatever the demon is doing, it's ugly. It's defying the laws of humanity. So he just wars against him, and though he gets killed by Ravana, he presents a lesson, he presents an example in front of us that we should never fly away from our duties, whatever hard they are. So he dies in the war, but he lives back an example for all of us. He gives a teaching to all of us that doesn't matter how much longer lives we live. The one thing that matters is how we lived our life, what we did in our lives. That's what keeps our image, our entire existence alive, even after we are dead. So it's in our hands. How are we going to construct our lives? Are we going to construct our lives moving on a right path? Or are we going to construct our lives moving on a bad path? Both of the lives are remembered by people, but the good lives are remembered by people in a good manner. They praise that lives. But if a person lives his life in a bad manner, following bad trail, then he achieves notoriety in his life and even after his life. So we see numerous examples in front of us. There were people who trotted on the wrong path, and today we don't want to remember them. Whenever we remember them, all of their bad works just start floating in front of our eyes, and so we feel that how carelessly, how just badly they live their lives, and so we shouldn't live that life. Like here in this scripture, two beings are being presented, mainly. One is Rama and one is Ravana. So we know both of these characters in a good manner, eloquently. We know about them. But whenever we remember Sri Rama, our hands fold up. We start prostrating in front of him. We start offering our prayers in front of Sri Rama. But whenever the part of Ravana comes in our life, whenever this character Ravana stumbles across in our minds, in our thoughts, in our emotions, our entire existence starts feeling that this was not the life that he was offered for. He didn't do what he was meant to do. He was a learned man, as people say. He was a scholar of different scriptures, as great people say, but he didn't serve the purpose of his teachings. He didn't serve the purpose of what he studied. He didn't serve the purpose of the biggest gift that God gave him as a human body, in a human body. So these demonic things and these godly things, I don't mean to say that demons will be those people who have big body, demonic body, grievous body, gratuitous body. No. Demons are in us. God is in us. So how we express our lives, that is the thing that matters. A person who seeks right path, a person who seeks righteous path, would start expressing Godism in him, would start developing and spreading godly existence in his entire nature. And the person who seeks bad path, who always develops bad activities, bad actions, bad behaviors, bad emotions, and bad feelings in his mind, will develop, gradually he'll develop demonic activities in his life. Doesn't matter how your physicality is. The one thing that matters is how purified and how much impurified your inner self is. That's what illustrates we are God, we are good powers, or we are demons, we are bad powers. So everything is in us. Lastly, everything falls on our part. The main purpose of the scripture is to construct our own lives. So why the scriptures always speak of Ravana and Rama? I mean, they should speak of purity, they should speak of good people like Rama. Why do they speak about Ravana? Why they present this character in the scripture if demons were something else than human beings? So here we get this information, here we get this feeling that demons are no one but the people who commit bad activities, who hold bad feelings in them, who hold grudges in them, who hold minorities in them. So we can construct our lives whatever way we want. But if we construct our lives in a good manner, we help ourselves and we start helping millions and millions of people that we see around us, and we become a better and the best example in this world and could inspire people even after our death. So the life of a person inspires people. The actions of people, the action of a person inspires people, not the image of the person. So if we are doing good actions, our lives would become helpful even when we are alive and even after we go away from here. So the choice is in your hands. So the purpose of reading the scripture, the purpose of hearing, and the purpose of speaking the scripture, all the purpose of the scripture is to make a human being a real human being, because this human being creates most amount of misdemeanors in his life. A cow is never said to live like a cow. A dog is never asked. There is no scripture in this entire world, and never would that happen that a scripture would ever be created for a dog to teach him how to be a dog, how to be a cow, how to be an animal. All elements, every molecule in this nature on this planet is living, is leading its life, is living its time period on this earth the way it was constructed to live, the way it was meant to live. But only humans have deflected themselves, that we have disoriented ourselves from the true path that we were meant to go through. It's only because of our one power, and that is the power of intellectuality. Our intellect is the greatest power. Our thoughts are great powers. But when these thoughts, when this intellectuality, when this intellect, when this thought, when these feelings, when these actions are diverted on a bad path, we start demoting ourselves from humanity, from mankind, from brotherhood, from coexistence, from oneness, from being a world citizen. So that's why the scriptures are created for human beings. Someone would ask, everything, all these good scriptures, good books, good knowledges we hear for human beings, are human beings so bad? I mean, we are called the best creation of the Creator. Why are we so bad? The same answer is here. I present you the same answer. That we have the power to raise ourselves. That's why we are called the best creation of the Creator, because we have all the possibilities in us that animals don't hold. But if we forget those possibilities in us, if we forget the purpose of who we are, of why are we here, then we could demote ourselves in such great depth that even we cannot be able to compare ourselves with animals. So that is a place for demons. So that's why the scriptures are presented to us by sages, by great sages, to make us understand what is the real purpose of our lives. And here, by real examples of those creatures who lived on those era, and how those creatures led their lives, how those creatures never forgot their duties, their responsibilities, their accountabilities. This gives us a real information, this gives us a real teaching that how we should lead our lives. And this is the utility, and this is the purpose, greatest purpose of this scripture. So now we go through the verses, and we see in the verse that Ravana kills Jatayu and he falls down and he takes away Sita with him, and no one knows what is the place where did Ravana took Sita. And now Sri Rama, as we know, that he is behind the deer, and after he understands that this deer is not a deer at all, it is a demon, and he kills the demon, and Lakshmana, under the ambush of those demons, he also moves towards Sri Rama, and both of them are there together. And now Sri Rama is heading back towards his cottage, and he knows in his heart that something has drastically gone wrong, because this ambush of demons cannot be misinterpreted. I mean, Sita is there in the cottage alone, and here we are, and this demon has lured us in the forest, and now I think there must be something bad going on in the cottage with Sita. So both of them rush towards the cottage and see this Jatayu fallen on the ground. He's not yet dead. He was hurt by that demon Ravana. He cut his both hands, and now he has fallen on the ground. And while I speak of Jatayu, one most important feature of this creature was that those type of creatures were far-sighted creatures. And we should also be far-sighted in our lives. Whatever actions we do, we must always go through, we must always run the result of that action that would come in our lives, in our mind. So whatever action you do, you always remain prepared. You always think about the result that would come up by any action that you now do in your lives. Because whatever you do, after a moment, is going to be past of our lives. And in a time period, after some time, it would become future of our lives. So the work that we do is a very important moment. Every moment is important. In the moment that we create, that we do some work. That's why people say, learned people, scholars, great people, great men say that you always live in your present time, present moment, because you don't have a control on your past, neither you have control on your future. So the past is gone and the future has not yet arrived. So whatever you need to do, it's the present moment that you should do. So whatever you do now, after just like a moment later, it becomes the past. So your track record is judged by people. How has this person lived the life till now? So to make your track record a good track record, focus on your present. To make your future a better future, focus on your present. To make your coming days to make a good career in your life, focus on your present time. So this is the reality. This is the utility of this present moment, present time. That's why people say that you always focus on your present time, and the person who focuses on his present moment can never can never fail in his life, can never be an unsucceeded person in his life. He always succeeds all the obstacles that fall in front of him. And when I say you live in the present moment totally, that means you live in your present moment understanding the outcomes of whatever action you do. Then only you'd be able to say that I live in my present moment. Only when you are committing, you are creating, you are doing, you're performing your actions in a well manner. Only then a good future will arrive in front of you, and only then you'd live back a good track record in your life. So to maintain your past and also to create a good future, you are required to focus on your present moment. And this is what these creatures, these characters that are spoken, that are described in scripture, give the example through their lives. So this creature, Jatayu, was said that he was farsighted. And when we are farsighted people, we never care about what would happen if we die. A good person, a person who has morality in him, always keeps his responsibilities above anything else. In my previous conversations, I was discussing about these two things, right and responsibility. Today, I am keeping one more thing in front of you, death and responsibility. If there is death in front of you, and on the other hand, there is responsibility in front of you, you should always support your responsibility. Because death is inevitable. It will come any day. Why not you die for a better cause that you were created for? So if there is accountability in front of you, some responsibility is calling you, is shouting in front of you to act on it, you should instantaneously act on it. Never care about what would happen if you do that. You could die. So think about it. Many people came here and are now dead people. So no one could evade death. So when death is inevitable, why not we die for a better cause? So here, this is the example that Jatayu presents with his life. So in Gita, Sri Krishna says to Arjuna that Hatuva prapsisi sargam jitvava bhokshasi mahim. If you die, you'd be praised and you'd be ovaded by gods. And if you win this war, Arjuna, you'd be the king of this entire earth. So you have fulfillments, you have this goodness, you have good results in both the hands. And in both of your palms, you have good results. If you die, everyone would praise you, that you died for a better cause. You died for the protection of Dharma. You died for the protection of righteousness. And if you are winner of this war, then you would serve, you would be the king of this entire earth and help people to move through the path of righteousness. So you have greater purpose and greater fruit in both of your hands. And this is what is exemplified by these characters in this scripture too. So the essence, the purpose of all these scriptures are to turn us towards the path of righteousness, towards the path of Dharma. And this is the initial purpose of our lives, that we start following whatever way we live our lives, we start following Dharma. And once we are purified people, then no work would ever be obstructed if we are pure people. Most people think that if I am a pure person, I cannot make more money. I cannot be a successful person if I am a devoted person, if I'm a divine person, if I'm a person who believes in God and godly experiences. It's an absolute fake thing. It's absolutely fake ideology. You would be a greater person if you're believing in God. You will be a greater person if you're living your life with divinity. You'll be a superior person if you are living a life of purity. Because then you would do whatever you do in your life filled with purity, that work will give a better result to you as well as to this entire creation, to this entire nature, entire planet, because your work will be mingled with divinity. Your work will be mingled with purity. Your work will be mingled with devotion, dedication. And that work will never pain anyone, will never pierce the emotion of anyone. That work will always stand as a work which uplifts the emotions of people, which uplifts the better feelings of people, which helps every person in a better way. So being a good person, being a pure person never means you should never take in your heart that your productivity will get a minus point in that, living that life. No, you'll be a more productive person if you live that life in that way. You should go behind in the past and see what the history tells us. All the people who always believed a superior nature, who always maintained a superior character in their lives, did great jobs. And some people who did great jobs, but in the later years of their lives fell down by their character, by their nature, by their divinity, by their purity, by their lives fell down at once. So it never matters how much you have gained or how much you want to gain again in coming days or years. The one thing that matters is how you have developed yourself. This is the ultimate purpose of a person. This is the ultimate meaning of life. And when you live that life in a meaningful purpose, your entire life becomes a meaningful life. And that is the thing that you should do. So I was talking about this thing, that such a person who maintains purity in his life, who maintains his responsibilities in his life, has fruit in both the hands. If he dies, he has a good fruit. If he is alive and doing his work in a better way, so he has fruit in both the palms. So always develop this feeling of compassion, always develop this feeling of forgiveness, always develop this feeling of clemency, and you'll be raised. So today we understood and we discussed this literature in another sense, like how should we connect our lives with the scriptures and how we should regulate our lives, maintaining understanding and going through the lives, maintaining our lives with the lives of those great examples that are exemplified in the scripture. This is the purpose of reading the scripture, and I hope all of you who are hearing me would motivate, would inspire your lives towards understanding the scripture and lifting your lives and the lives of anyone who comes across you too. Thank you.